first introduction of surrogate partners in the United States was through Masters & Johnson. They trained surrogate partners to work with their male clients. But Masters & Johnson didn't think it appropriate for surrogate partners to work with female clients. They didn't think the female client would give herself permission to function sexually after only having a relationship of a couple of weeks. As soon as their book hit the stands, it became an extremely popular book, and therapists from around the country traveled to St. Louis to learn how to do the therapy that they'd been doing. And those other therapists didn't have the same bias against male surrogates working with female clients, or the same bias against working with homosexual clients. And so very quickly there were male surrogates training in New York and California, having success working with female clients and male clients. Just a few years later, in 1973, the International Professional Surrogates Association was founded, and ever since then there have been both gay male surrogates and heterosexual male surrogates, as well as lesbians and heterosexual female surrogates working with clients.
Some of the areas that male surrogates might be utilized in would be development of social and sexual skills, learning about anatomy and sexual functioning with a live person to reduce anxiety and pair relaxation with sexual activity, working on specific therapy goals such as overcoming erection and ejaculatory issues, exploring ways in building confidence in sexually stimulating another person. Another area that male surrogates may be utilized well would be sex and disability issues, learning about sexual functioning, sexual competencies, and capabilities in the disabled person.
I started this work back in '97, worked in a center in Israel. This is the biggest private clinic in the world, located in Tel Aviv. The majority of the clients that I was working with were women, females in their late 20s or early 30s with any issue around intimacy, relationship, sexuality, females with vaginismus, vestibulitis. I had one client with a touch aversion. She never allowed anyone from her family or friends to touch her. We can also help women with the orgasmic issues, women with some confusion around their sexual orientation, women with the traumas, past traumas around relationships or sexuality, or women who was raped or abused, molested. Surrogate partner therapy can help people with the shyness, late virgin people, or people who are just afraid of starting dating in a normal setting.
Surrogate partner therapy is ideal for the situation where someone could benefit from being in relationship in order to help them heal certain issues, yet those issues themselves prevent them from being in that relationship, which might help them heal. So you might think of the relationship between a client and a surrogate partner as a relationship with training wheels. That there are 4 differences between a normal relationship and the relationship that's created in surrogate partner therapy. The first difference is that in the surrogate-client relationship, that relationship is temporary. It's one that is, by definition and by agreement, going to be for a certain period of time to accomplish specific objectives. The second difference is that there's an active support structure built right in. The client has the support of the therapist that will help them understand and process any issues that may arise during the experiential work. The surrogate also has the support of the therapist, as well as the support of people who are doing the same work. The third difference is that the surrogate is professionally trained to be in this type of relationship. And the fourth difference is that In a normal relationship, you have two people, each with their own needs, fears, and issues. And sometimes the needs, fears, and issues of these two individuals can interact in ways that are tremendously complicated. In the surrogate-client relationship, on the other hand, one of the people, the surrogate, has committed to setting aside their own needs. It's not that they don't have needs, but they're committed to being aware of these needs and to find other ways to satisfy them so that they're able to be present and supportive in the client reaching their objectives.
Well, in surrogate partner therapy, it involves three people, the client, a supervising therapist, and a surrogate partner. And that creates a triadic relationship that is a little different than just a therapist and a client. Brings in a third person to assist in issues that revolve sensuality and sexuality. Bringing a surrogate in could be a really good step to help them overcome some of the issues that they're facing that talk therapy just isn't able to address. And then that bringing in a third person who has more of the ability to do some more hands-on exercises from sensate focus to having a different type of relationship with the client can help facilitate their growth. The therapist would contact a surrogate that they've used in the past and see if they could come in and meet, or would contact IPSA, the International Professional Surrogates Association, to get an appropriate recommendation for a working surrogate. And then all three of them would meet to see if the surrogate and the client could do some of this intense, very emotional, deep work together.
I think clients bring a lot of anxiety and a lot of self-esteem issues. Oftentimes they may have had some sexual trauma in their past. They lack the self-confidence to move forward and take a risk with someone. And so what the surrogate partner therapy can focus on is building tools to be able to relieve the anxiety, to build some self-confidence through that very safe and controlled sexual interaction that goes with a surrogate partner. So emotions of fear, emotions of anxiety, do come up. Emotional intimacy that goes along hand in hand with the sexual intimacy. And that's really what we're looking for. We're looking to integrate our heads and our minds and our emotions as well as our hearts and, of course, our genitals and how we use them. And so that is the ideal, that we are integrated and we're moving at a pace that feels comfortable for the client. But for an ongoing relationship to be nurturing and caring and loving, there has to be a level of intimacy and trust, an ability to communicate, and certainly people need to be relaxed enough to enjoy themselves.
Sex is such a complicated and wonderful and amazing experience for human beings, and not at all limited to genital contact. So, for most of us, as they say, the biggest sex organ is the brain, right? So I want to get into my client's mind and help them sort through experience. And that's my job, is working through experience rather than just through the talk, the conversational mode. I want to help them sort through their experience what goes on in their mind, what could be going on in their mind, to help their sensual and sexual experience be more rewarding. Setting your own internal boundaries. That's a big issue for some clients. Just don't know how to do that. Maybe because their boundaries have been violated too much in their lives and they just don't know what appropriate boundaries for them would be. We already know it's going to end. And they don't have to worry about being alone in this relationship to figure things out, because both my consciousness is there holding their long-term well-being, and the therapist is sitting in the wings, ready to catch any of the emotional fallout, the distress or anxiety that might come from having confronted their kind of worst fears of what might come up, of therapist is always there to process verbally the emotional content of everything that happens, while the surrogate is working with the client to elicit the experiences that will trigger the internal learning, that will trigger the fears to come up, that will trigger the experiences to come up that need to be worked through, and that will then be there as the partner to work through all of those issues or fears.
One of the most wonderful things about working with a surrogate in a treatment team strategy is the benefit of actually having somebody with expertise and training give feedback directly to the therapist after each client session, feedback that they glean from working directly with that client, from talking to the client, and then sharing that with the therapist. It's a very, very efficient way of both getting a clearer understanding of what's going on in each client session with the client, as well as how to develop the treatment plan that's most efficient. Surrogates are highly trained professionals.
Sex is the least of what we do with clients. The surrogate's goal is to bridge the experiential gaps between physical and psychological healing. We facilitate the development of relationship building, social skills, personal hygiene, and sexual health. Sex therapists perform talk therapy. A surrogate partner, we do the body work. During sessions, we encourage clients to leave behind learned behaviors or negative patterns and remain present with the body. All prior social, religious, political, family, and relationship experiences are cleared from the thought process, and the client focuses on the experiential exercise while remaining in the here and now. Now, we ask the therapeutic community to remain present in examining the reluctance sex therapists have demonstrated in referring male surrogates. With so many amazing male surrogates ready, willing, and able to serve your clients, I wonder, what do we imagine to be so different between male and female sexual disorders that the trends in surrogate referral practices are so gender biased?
The hardest part for male surrogates has been getting referrals. There seems to be anxiety on the part of therapists in talking to clients about the possibility of working with a surrogate partner. Therapists appear to be more comfortable referring clients to female surrogates than to male surrogates. I suspect that has to do with some cultural biases that suggest that men cannot be nurturing, or that men would not make themselves available in the service of someone else's growth and learning, and also some fantasies that female clients in particular are just too fragile to be able to grow and change and take ownership of their sexuality. I'm delighted to be able to refer these clients to surrogate partner who work with me in partnership to help the client grow to the person that they want to be, and then to help launch them into the rest of their lives. There are not surrogates in every state, although there are surrogates around the world, in Israel and Australia and Canada and the US in particular. But there are very few, just a few hundred in the whole world probably, and maybe just a couple dozen in the United States.